We're going to look at the results from the process analysis, where we look at the moderation with a continuous predictor and a categorical predictor, in which that categorical predictor has more than 2 categories. So we're looking at trying to predict attitudes towards smoking based on exposure to an ad campaign, and we want to know if there is a difference between the 3 levels of smoking status, which can either be 0, which is non-smokers, 1 for former smokers, and 2 for smokers. And what we see in this table is that the dummy variables are created for you. It's W1 and W2 for the dummy variables. And we can also see that a 1 is indicated for the former smokers for this dummy variable, and here for the second dummy variable that is indicated here by a 1, again for this time for the smokers. So now we know what our dummy variables are. So if we look at our regression analysis results, of course we see the R squared, how much variance is explained, but more importantly now is what are the coefficients that we find in here. We can see that the slope of the regression for exposure, trying to explain attitudes towards smoking by exposure, is minus 1849, and this is in the case where the dummy variable is 0. So this is the situation where you are a non-smoker. This is tested with a t-test, and also we see the confidence intervals, the lower and the upper bound, which does not contain a 0 value, so it indicates that there is at least a slope that is significant. Furthermore, we see the dummy variables, so the first dummy variable indicating the former smoker. This is the difference between the baseline and what we have now. This is also tested. And we have the same situation for which we have the second category, which is the smoker, and this is also the difference, and this seems to go into a different direction, but it's again the difference. What we also want to see is the interaction term, because this indicates if there is a difference in the slopes for the 3 categories, and we have the interaction, first one, for the first dummy variable, so this is essentially the former smokers, so this is an additional difference in the beta coefficient. This is tested again, and also for the other one. Essentially, this interaction tests if there's a difference in slope. So if this is non-significant, then it indicates that the slopes are essentially the same, and if it is different, then that is an indication that the slopes are different. So if we look at the next output, namely the conditional effect of the vocal predictor at values of the moderators, we essentially see the combined beta coefficients for the specific slope of the category. So again, we see this for the first one. This is the situation where we have non-smokers, we have the situation where we have former smokers, and we have the situation where we have smokers. And these are the effects that we find. This is also tested with a t-value, a t-test, and the lower and upper bounds. Again, we see all are significant, so all the slopes are significant at the 0.05 level. We also asked for code to visualize this, and I've already done this down here. So here we see the different slopes for the different categories. We have the non-smokers, the former smokers, and the smokers, and we see that the non-smokers are slightly less negative, or at least the slope is slightly less negative than the former smokers and the smokers, which essentially means that for this specific group there's less effect of the exposure to an anti-smoking campaign on the attitudes towards smoking. And for the former smokers and the smokers, this effect, it's the same for both. And again, it indicates that the more exposure we have to the anti-smoking campaign, the lower the attitude towards smoking is.